नवनीत चोर गोतम। जय शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु शंकर गुरु जय शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु जगद्गुरु जय जगद्गुरु जगद्गुरु जय जगद्गुरु जगद्गुरु जय जगद्गुरु जगद्गुरु जय जगद्गुरु शंकर गुरु शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु महिमा गुरुनाथा कृपा सागरा गुरुनाथा महिमा गुरुनाथा कृपा सागरा गुरुनाथा अनुदिनं वन्दे गुरुनाथा अनुदिनं वन्दे गुरुनाथा मय अनुग्रहं सेवाय गुरुनाथा अनुदिनं वन्दे गुरुनाथा मय अनुग्रहं सेवाय गुरुनाथा गुरुनाथा सद्गुरुनाथा कालड़ी कोंडिय गुरुनाथा गुरुनाथा सद्गुरुनाथा कालड़ी कोंडिय गुरुनाथा कालड़ी कोंडिय गुरुनाथा मैं कई विदुवायो कालड़ी कोंडिय गुरुनाथा मैं कई विदुवायो काल पीड़ितो गुरुनाथा काल पीड़ितो गुरुनाथा मैं कई विदुवायो गुरुनाथा काल पीड़ितो गुरुनाथा मैं कई विदुवायो गुरुनाथा गुरुनाथा सद्गुरुनाथा कालड़ी कोंडिय गुरुनाथा गुरुनाथा सद्गुरुनाथा कालड़ी कोंडिय गुरुनाथा शंकर गुरु जय शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद गुरु शंकर गुरु जय शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु शंकर भगवत्पाद शंकर गुरु नमामि ॐ विनायकं समस्तलोकशङ्करं नमामि ॐ विनायकं समस्तलोकशङ्करम् अनाथदीनरक्षकम् Ananda Sadgunakaram Anakadina Rakshakam Ananda Sadgunakaram Ganeshwaram Gajeshwaram Sureshwaram Maheshwaram Ganeshwaram Gajeshwaram Sureshwaram Maheshwaram Namami Om Vinayakam Samastalokashankaram Namami Om Vinayakam Samastalokashankaram Yoginam Hridam Vasanta Bhaskaram Vibhum Yoginam Hridantare Vasanta Bhaskaram Vibhum Mudakaram Krupakaram Sudanandatmaranjakam Mudakaram Krupakaram Sudanandatmaranjakam Ganeshwaram Gajeshwaram Sureshwaram Maheshwaram Ganeshwaram Gajeshwaram Sureshwaram Maheshwaram Namami Om Vinayakam Samastalokashankaram Namami Om Vinayakam Salokashankaram. Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Pandari Ranga Hare Vithala Pandari Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Ranga Hare Vithala Pandari Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Hara Ranga Hare Vithala Narahara Ranga Hare Vithala Murahara Ranga Hare Vithala Murahara Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Pandari Ranga Hare Vithala Pandari Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Hara Ranga Hare Vithala Narahara Ranga Hare Vithala Murahara Ranga Hare Vithala Murahara Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala Purandara Ranga Hare Vithala. Om सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Together we'll chant Kaivalya Upanishad beginning with invocatory prayer. Upanishadic chanting beginning with invocatory prayer. भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनोभिः व्यशेमदेवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। अथाश्वलायनो भगवन्तं परमेष्टिनमुपसमेत्योवाच अदेहि भगवन् ब्रह्मविद्यां वरिष्ठां सदा सद्भिः सेव्यमानां निगूढाम् यया चिरात् सर्वपापं व्यपोह्य परात्परं पुरुषं याति विद्वान् तस्मै सहोवाच पितामहश्च श्रद्धा भक्ति ध्यानयोगादवैः न कर्मणा न प्रजया धनेन त्यागेनैके अमृतत्वमानशुः परेण नाकं निहितं गुहायां विभ्राजतो यद्यतयो विशन्ति वेदांत विज्ञान सुनिश्चिताता संन्यासयोगा यतयः शुद्ध सत्त्वाः ते ब्रह्मलोकेषु परान्तकाले परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे विविक्तदेशे च सुखासनस्थः शुचिः समग्रे वशिरः शरीरः अत्याश्रमस्थः सकलेन्द्रियाणि निरुध्य भक्त्या स्वगुणं प्रणम्य हृत्पुण्डरीकं विरजं विशुद्धं विचित्य मध्ये विशदं विशोकम् अचिन्त्यमव्यक्तमनन्तरूपं शिवं प्रशान्तममृतं ब्रह्मयोनिम् तथान्तर्मध्यान्तविहीनमेकं विभुं चिदानन्दमरूपमद्भुतम् उमासहायं परमेश्वरं प्रभुं योचनं नीलकण्ठं प्रशान्तम् ध्यात्वा मुनिर्गच्छति भूतयोनिः समस्तसाक्षिं तमसः परस्तात् स ब्रह्मा स शिवः सेन्द्रः सोऽक्षरः परमस्वराट् स एव विष्णुः स प्राणः स कालोऽग्निः स चन्द्रमाः स एव सर्वं यद्भूतं यच्च भव्यं सनातनम् ज्ञात्वा तं मृत्युमत्येति नान्यः पन्था विमुक्तये सर्वभूतस्थमात्मानं सर्वभूतानि चात्मनि सम्पश्यन् ब्रह्म परमं याति नान्येन हेतुना मरणिं कृत्वा प्रणवंशोत्तरारणिम् ज्ञाननिर्मथनाभ्यासात् आशं दहति पण्डितः स एव माया परिमोहितात्मा शरीरमास्या करोति निर्मम् स्त्रियन्नपानादिविचित्रभोगैः स एव जाग्रत् परितृप्तिमेति स्वप्ने स जीवः सुखदुःखभोक्ता स्वमायया कल्पितविश्वलोके सुषुप्तिकाले सकले विलीने त्वमाविर्भूतः सुखरूपमेति पुनश्च जन्मान्तरकर्मयोगात् स एव जीवः स्वपिति प्रबुद्धः पुरत्रये क्रीडति यश्च जीवस्ततस्तु जातं सकलं विचित्रम् आधारमानन्दमखण्डबोधं यस्मिन् लयं याति पुरत्रयं च एतस्माज्जायते प्राणो मनः सर्वेन्द्रियाणि च खं वायुर्ज्योतिरापः पृथिवी विश्वस्य धारिणी यत्परं ब्रह्म सर्वात्मा विश्वस्यायतनं महत् सूक्ष्मात् सूक्ष्मतरं नित्यं तत्त्वमेव त्वमेव तत् जाग्रत् स्वप्न सुषुप्त्यादि प्रपञ्चं यत् प्रकाशते तद्ब्रह्माहमिति ज्ञात्वा सर्वबन्धैः प्रमुच्यते त्रिषु धामसु यद्भोग्यं भोक्ता भोगश्च यद्भवेत् तेभ्यो विलक्षणः साक्षी चिन्मात्रोऽहं सदाशिवः मय्येव सकलं जातं मयि सर्वं प्रतिष्ठितं मयि सर्वं लयं याति तद्ब्रह्माद्वयमस्म्यहम् अणोरणीयानहमेव तद्वन्महार्णहं विश्वमहं विचित्रम् पुरातनोऽहं पुरतोऽहमीशो हिरण्मयोऽहं शिवरूपमस्मि हरिपादोऽहमचिन्त्यशक्ति पश्याम्यचक्षुः सशृणोम्यकर्णः अहं विजानामि विविक्तरूपो न चास्ति वेत्ता मम चित्सदाहम् वेदैरनेकैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम् न पुण्यपापे मम नास्ति नाशो न जन्मदेहे प्रियबुद्धिरस्ति न भूमिरापो न च वह्निरस्ति न चानिलो मेऽस्ति न चाम्बरं च एवं विदित्वा परमात्मरूपं गुहाशयं निष्कलमद्वितीयम् समस्तसाक्षिं सदसद्विहीनं प्रयाति शुद्धं परमात्मरूपम् यस्यनुद्येयमधीते सोऽग्निपूतो भवति सुरापानात् पूतो भवति ब्रह्महत्यात् पूतो भवति कृत्यात् पूतो भवति तस्मादविमुक्तमाश्रितो भवति अस्याश्रमे सर्वदा सकृत्यात् जपेत् न ज्ञानमाप्नोति संसारार्णवनाशनम् तस्मादेवं विदित्वैनं कैवल्यं फलमश्नुते कैवल्यं फलमश्नुत इति In the previous class, we have been studying the Kaivalya Upanishad part 2, the aids to realization. The topic we are in the studying of this aids to realization, wherein we covered this verses from part 1 to part 2, 22, 23, 1 and 2 of the part 2. Now, this we are at the final mantra of this Kaivalya Upanishad. So, the mantra reads, mantra 2 of the part 2, we will chant. अनेन ज्ञानमाप्नोति संसारार्णवनाशनम् तस्मादेवं विदित्वैनं कैवल्यं फलमश्नुते कैवल्यं फलमश्नुत इति. The chanting repeat. अनेन ज्ञानमाप्नोति संसारार्णवनाशनम् तस्मादेवं विदित्वैनं कैवल्यं फलमश्नुते कैवल्यं फलमश्नुत इति. So, what is this mantra's translation? We are going to take up now. By this, he attains wisdom, jnanam. Jnanam apnoti, attains. By this. What is this? We are going to understand now. Which destroys the ocean of samsara. Samsara is an ocean. Means it is unending. What is that samsara? Birth, death, cycle. Samsararnava nashanam, which destroys the samsara, which is nothing but birth and death cycle, which every human being is caught up now. Therefore, tasmat, wherever you go in the scripture, there is always a clear conclusion based on the derivation of the discussion in a logical format, in a mathematical, scientific and practical way. There is a conclusion. Therefore, thus having known this, he attains the fruit of liberation. Kaivalyam, Kaivalya Upanishad means liberation, emancipation, immortality. These are all synonyms. He attains the fruit of liberation. This is twice it is told in this mantra. Means it is double emphasis. Means it is assurance. Whoever gains this, what is this we are going to study today? It ends by doing this, by gaining this, by knowledge or wisdom of this. What is this? Knowledge of the self. Therefore, thus, this Upanishad, which is Kaivalya Upanishad, which is containing the knowledge of the Supreme God, the Atma Vidya, Brahma Vidya, whoever gains this, he gains the fruit of liberation, means he gets enlightened, he gains immortality. This is what the idea here. He attains the fruit of liberation, fruit of emancipation. So, anena means by this. This must be anena, means by this. What is this? This refers to the Guru's advice. So, Guru advised in the previous mantra, last mantra. What is that? The advice is to gain the knowledge of the self, to absorb the import, deep import of the verses, become purified by the fire of knowledge, destroy the ignorance by the fire of knowledge, because the whole life is born out of your ignorance of the self. So the knowledge purifies the seeker, in turn purifies your mind's likes and dislikes, commission and omission, which is what every human being is caught up in, the likes and dislikes, be it indulgent consumption of intoxicants or even killing a Brahmin. This is what we studied. A Brahmin is a precious among human beings. Hence, killing a Brahmin is considered heinous, means atrocious act. Even such an act does not stain a person of wisdom. So, the Guru advised to gain the scriptural knowledge, the philosophy of Vedanta. When a seeker studies Vedanta philosophy from the scripture, he gains the knowledge. Upon reflection and contemplation, the knowledge turns into wisdom. So, it is not mere erudition or scholarship. It is not mere information. It is the subjective transformation. You have to become that. You have to merge. You have to uplift yourself to the different perception, different transformation, different state of being you have to achieve through your assimilation, absorption of this knowledge of the reality. Even such an act, even apparently atrocious action of killing a Brahmin. Killing a Brahmin means killing a person who gives you knowledge and light and peace and bliss and happiness. You are killing means you are self-destruction. So, upon reflection and contemplation, so you have to think. See, human being is made up of this physical body, which is a shariram. It's just a vehicle which transports you from experience to experience. So the body by itself cannot act. The body is propelled by, impelled by, driven by either the mind or the intellect. There are two wonderful equipments your personality is made up of: mind and intellect. So the mind is the seat of emotions, impulses, desires, likes and dislikes. And the intellect is the faculty of thinking, reasoning, judging, deciding, whatever course of action. So your actions driven by either the mind or the intellect or the combination of the both. So the human dignity and prestige is defined by the usage of intellect all the time. By the virtue of intellect, you become a human being. So here the intellect is emphasized through Guru's advice by reflection and contemplation, means using the study of the scripture, analyze. So you are made up of gross intellect and subtle intellect. So the gross intellect is the intellect which uses within the periphery of the world. So you analyze the deeper loss of life, which is perceptible, experimental. You can physically see the loss functioning. So that is through analysis, reflection, understanding. All the scientists, so-called inventors, people who discover various things in life to provide comforts to humanity. Those are the people who brought us the great science. Same gross intellect, if it is applied, you become a original thinker in life, an independent thinker. You become a scientist. Whereas that part of the intellect which is thinks beyond this peripheral world, phenomenal world, thought crosses the boundary of the world, then you are said to be using subtle intellect, sukshma buddhi. So Guru is advising you to employ the subtle intellect to investigate, to contemplate, to think beyond this world by gaining this knowledge of the self through contemplation. Means when you think about thoughts pertaining to reality, thoughts pertaining to what is behind this universe, is there anything, something which is supporting this universe? It is not a blind faith, it is based on corroboratory evidences. You try to conclude that there must be something beyond this phenomenal changing world, a changeless substratum. So Vedanta philosophy helps you to investigate, to launch on the investigation by giving a material to contemplate. That knowledge, once you gain, that knowledge turns into wisdom, means you establish in the subtle intellect, means you establish in the self. The wisdom absolves him of his commission and omission of the world. Once you establish in the knowledge of the reality, you transcend these likes and dislikes and fix yourself in the immortal self. So the advice is to liberate oneself for good, means completely you are free from this birth and death cycle. So what are these corroboratory evidences what the Vedantic philosophy, the knowledge of Vedanta presents for you to study, to get some kind of conclusion? There are three comparisons given in the scriptures that to prove that there is a self existence of the Atman. One is the using of the possessive pronoun mine, I and mine. So all the time human being uses, every human being uses, this is my body, this is my mind, this is my intellect. Possessive pronoun my. The moment you use possessive pronoun my, it indicates there are two factors, the possessor and the possessed. Possessor is the subject, possessed is the object. So this is my hand, it indicates I am apart from the hand. This is my pen, this is my car, this is my house. The very idea of my indicates there are two factors, possessor and possessed. Now the question is, when you say my body, means the body is the object of possession. Who is the possessor? That is the question Vedanta presents you to investigate. Then is, when you go deeper, you say, this is my mind. You are made up of body, mind and intellect. Now, what is this mind? So, the possessor is the unknown, possessed is the mind. I have a feeling, I have an emotion called happiness or sorrow or kindness or jealousy. Those are all happening in the realm of the mind. But who is the possessor of the mind? That is what one must inquire, one must find out. So, Vedanta gives you that idea of what is this possessor within you. Similarly, you claim, this is my intellect. My intellect is thinking, or I have an intellect. So, who am I? That is the question. So, the possessor is unknown. Possessed you are aware of. Body, mind and intellect. Who is the possessor? So, this is the first inquiry everybody should have when it comes to the subject of reality. Because the body, mind, intellect are the objects of possession. Who is the possessor? Similarly, that is the first argument the Vedanta proposes to help us to inquire, investigate the reality. Next comes the second one is the changeless substratum with reference to changing entities of life. So, if you carefully analyze, for every noticing change, the moment you notice, you recognize a change in the world, you can only notice or recognize, observe the changes because of the reference with which there must be changeless substratum. Without the changeless substratum, you can't notice a change. For example, if you are in the moving train, you cannot understand how many trains passed from the platform. You have to give the reference of changeless factor to recognize, to notice any changes. So when you stand at the platform of a railway station, you can tell this train gone so and so time, this train gone so and so time, you can give the list. But when you are in the moving train, you can't recognize. Similarly, friends, from the day when you are born till today, you have been observing, noticing, recognizing the changes within your physical body. What is the condition of your body? Type of body you had in the past when you are infancy. When you become a boy, what is the body? When you become a man and become an old man, the body is changing all the time. Similarly, the mind is changing all the time. What was the thoughts and feelings, emotions you entertained when you are a teenager, when you are a child, when you are now as an adult, or when you are an old? What type of mind? Constantly mind itself is changing. You are able to recognize, you are able to notice, you are able to understand the changes happening within the mind also. Similarly, what is that with reference to which you are able to notice the changes in the mind? Similarly, you have another, what is that called? Intellect, the thoughts and ideas. It is thoughts and ideas in the intellect, the way of thinking constantly changing. what type of thinking you had when you were a child, when you were an adult, when you were old age. So all this body is changing, mind is changing, intellect is changing, and you are noticing these changes. So on what basis you are able to notice? There must be a changeless substratum with reference to which you are able to recognize these changes. That changeless substratum is said to be the designated as the self, the Atman, the Supreme Self, which you have to find out. You have to investigate and you have to realize that. So first argument is the possessor and possessed. Who is the possessor? For which is possessing and claiming to itself my body, my mind, my intellect. Who is that? That unknown entity is designated as Atman, the Supreme Self. The self possesses the body, mind, and intellect and using it for contacting this world. So, the self is the ultimate possessor. Self is that which is changeless substratum. The self is the reality. And third argument. So, if you carefully analyze, the body is engaged in, physical body is engaged in perceptions and actions. When you use your body, you say, you declare, I perceive. When you use your mind, you declare, I feel various emotions. You declare, when you use the intellect, I conceive various thoughts and ideas. So, your body is, when your body is born, you say, I am a child. When the body is grown up as a boy, you say, I am a boy or a girl. When the boy becomes a teenager, I am a teenager, you declare. When you become an adult, you say, I am an adult, I am a man, I am a woman. And also you declare, what? When you become old, I am an old man. Find out all these statements. I am a boy, I am a man, I am an old man. One said the constant factor always referred to a changeless entity. How can a constant factor can be connected to a changeless factor? It has to be, if it is a changing factor, it cannot be I. But you always declare, I am, I am, I am. The boy is not the man, a man is not the old man, the child is not the boy. All are changing. And you declare, I am, I am. How can you declare I with the changing factors? It's totally absurd. Unfortunately, we have no capacity to think. So, this I, unknown I, whatever it could be, you always declare unconsciously, unknowingly. I am a boy, I am a man, I am an old man. Who is that I? When you go use this body, I already told you that I perceive, I am acting. When the body is perceiving, body is acting, you say I am acting, I am perceiving. When you feel various emotions, you say I am happy, I am sorrowful. This I is all the time coming into every actions and perceptions and emotions and thoughts. I never leaves you. You don't want to leave. You want to leave the I, but it will not leave you. The I permeates into every experience of your personality in your life. I perceive, I feel, I see, I hear, I smell, I taste, I touch. Seeing is not hearing, hearing is not smelling, smelling is not tasting or touching. But all are connected to all the time I. What is this I? So this I never leaves you. Similarly, I think various thoughts. You go to the next state of consciousness, which we are all caught up. 3 states of consciousness. Waking state of consciousness, where you declare, I am the waker, experiencing the waking world. When you go to bed, either you are in dream or in the deep sleep. When you dream, you become the dreamer. Nothing to do with this waking state. And you have a different world of your own. But you declare, I am the dreamer. I comes into that picture. I am the dreamer. Experiencing the dream phenomena, dream family, dream flora, dream fauna. You all the time experiencing different state of consciousness in the dream state. Jagrat, Swapna, Shushuptavastha. 3 states of consciousness. We are all caught up, not aware, blissfully complacent. We are completely caught up and we are not aware how much we are caught up, and we are blissfully unaware. You declare, I am is percolating, but clean miss it. I am the dreamer. When you go to deep sleep, you say, I am zero, I am nothing. How are you? How did you enjoy the sleep? You say, I had a sound sleep. What you did, I don't know. Totally in darkness of nothingness, blankness, emptiness. You declare, I am the deep sleeper, experiencing nothingness. So I declare I am the waker, I declare I am the dreamer, I declare I am the deep sleeper, and constantly you are caught up in this waking dream and deep sleep, waking dream and deep sleep. You declare, I am. What is this I? So the Upanishad is helping us to find out what is this I. This I is that Supreme Self within. The same self in every object and being, every living being, pulsating. The core of every being is the Supreme God, the Atman. That changeless substratum, that percolating, permeating I in its purest form is the Supreme God, the Atman. That is what we have to realize and reach it in this very lifetime. This is the mission of human being, to find this truth, the reality, the I, the Supreme God. So these are the 3 corroboratory evidences has been provided by Vedanta. What is that? Changeless entity in the changing phenomena, and the pronoun, possessive pronoun, I and mine, and this declaration of I. All these reasons put together gives you some glimpse of conclusive commitment to pursue this I. There is enough assurance that there must be a distinct, beyond this changing, there must be a changeless factor which has to be found out by using subtle intellect and study this and practice these spiritual disciplines. So this is what the advice given in the mantra, what the knowledge is talking about. Self-knowledge means that knowledge of reality. The Guru's advice is to liberate oneself for good. The construction of the word avimuktaha is striking. Muktaha means liberated. Vimuktaha means not liberated. Avimuktaha means therefore means one is never not liberated. The greatest assurance. here and now. If you are having the clarity, you can pursue it till you reach it and you enjoy the supreme peace and bliss of nectar, immortality. The consciousness, the self in you is never not liberated because self is free. We are bound because of our mind and desires, our ignorance of the self. Thus, through the portals of wisdom, you reach your inner self. You reach your inner self. So, you have to practice to give. When the knowledge theory executed into the practice, you get the wisdom. Wisdom is applied knowledge, absorbed knowledge, digested knowledge. Living knowledge is called wisdom. And knowledge which is thought about, reflected, contemplated, assimilated, digested, and become part of your system. If the knowledge is just mere information, you become a brilliant scholar. You just become a professor for making you a living, but it will not help you to enhance your personality to higher stratum, higher dimension, higher growth of enlightenment. You will not enjoy the benefits. The moment you digest, the moment you assimilate, the moment you practically implement the knowledge, whatever little you have, Bhagavad Gita, Kinchidadhita, Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita, Sugradapayena Murari Samarcha, Kriyate Dasya Yamena Nachacha. Even the Lord Yama, the king of death, Lord Yama is scared of the death. That is the power of Bhagavad Gita. The death itself scared of approaching you. So, that is the power of Bhagavad Gita. It simply means with the knowledge you understand the futility of this worldly life of birth and death, and you become an objective. You become detached. You play like an actor on the stage. The great Shakespeare says, the world is a stage. All men and women are mere players. They have their exits and entrances. So just by sheer growth of knowledge into wisdom, you have no value. Like a child playing toys. You understand the whole world is like a toy world. Everybody is caught up in what? Money, name, fame, power, position, status, and family. Take away all this, there is no world. So, this is the current toys we are caught up for our joys because we don't have any higher ideal, a higher cause or purpose. The highest cause the human being is provided to enjoy the immortal bliss. But alas, says Upanishad, they fritter away, squander away. The greatest opportunity being born as a human being has been completely squandered. This is the every individual's sad plight. So the Guru is advising the consciousness, the self is never not liberated. It is ever free. It is always there. We clean miss it. Why? Because it is lavished. Why we are not able to recognize the God, the Supreme Self? Everybody is aware of this fact that whatever is lavished, what is abundant, you clean miss it, you don't have value. Something which is lavished, you will have no value. You observe. Oxygen is abundant from the day when you are born. Oxygen supply is there for your maintenance and sustenance. Nobody has any recognition, any value for the oxygen bill. There is no awareness, no gratitude because it is lavished. It is abundant. It is plenty. Therefore, no value for it. Anything plenty has no value. Whereas something scarcity, everybody is agitated. Oh, there is a petrol scarcity, everybody is in queue. There is something scarcity, something which is very, very rationalized. It is like a ration depot. It is something which is controlled. You have a lot of value. This is the tragic incapacity of proof of lack of intellect in human being. So the great masters constantly recognize the value of the self. The Prahlada told, the self is everywhere, all pervading. It is there within you, it is there without you. It is inside and above and below and everywhere. But we clean miss the self because it is lavished. That is the first reason. Second reason is we are preoccupied in the attractions of the world and terribly attached to the world of objects and beings in our personal life. So we caught up in this, preoccupied in this external world, therefore clean miss the self. So Guru is cautioning us that the greatest opportunity being born as a human being is to find out the self, the consciousness in you, because it is always ever liberated. The moment you have little bit of self-knowledge, you can take care of all the worldly challenges which is attacking you. Thus, through the portals of wisdom, you reach the inner self. So, by gaining the knowledge and try to assimilate wisdom, you reach the state. You realize the self, which is never bound. So, the bondage is because of the body, because of the mind, because of the intellect. You identified whole life. So, the moment you disassociate with the body and you associate with the self, I am not the body, I am the self. I have a body, I am using this body for contacting the external world for perceptions and actions. I have nothing to do with the body, I am the self. I have nothing to do with this mind which is experiencing various feelings and emotions. It is the function of the mind. I have nothing to do, I am nothing to do with this. Who am I? The Supreme Self, the Atman. I am Atman using the mind to contacting and enjoying these various emotions. Similarly, I am the self using this intellect to think various thoughts and ideas. The thoughts and ideas are logic or reason, knowledge or understanding or not understanding or ignorance. All the realm of the intellect. You have nothing to do with them. You are the Supreme Self, the Atman. This is what the wisdom all about. By practicing this wisdom into day-to-day life, you realize the self and you reach the inner core of your personality. Then you will be never bound. The Guru's advice is directed, therefore, to the highest order of life, which was studied in the previous class. The advice to chant or to meditate once you reach, eradicate all desires through spiritual practices of karma, bhakti, jnana. Physical body should be engaged in service and sacrifice. And mind is engaged in devotional practices of splash of divinity everywhere, recognition, and followed by gratitude. And the intellect is ever engaged in understanding the knowledge of the self, in the studying of the scriptures, in engaged in reflection and contemplation of the higher values of life, knowledge of reality. Having studied and practiced enough as prescribed in the scripture, by this means by following these prescribed disciplines, the Guru's advice in the preceding mantra to study the philosophy of the Vedanta, reflect upon it, contemplate upon it, you reach sannyasa. Sannyasa is misunderstood as people who are disconnected from the world physically and retire to Himalayas in the jungles. This is not sannyasa. Sannyasa is not based on the physical disconnection or based on the attire you wear, based on your vocation or occupation, you are in spiritual or not spiritual field, based on your age or nationality or gender or race or religion. Sannyasa is the state of mind. When the mind is taken up higher values and matured with that knowledge, you have no value for the lower objects and beings. Like a child becomes an adult. When the child matures into an adult, the child who is earlier erstwhile child caught up in the toys, becoming an adult, have no value for the toys anymore. Similarly, a sannyasa is the state of evolution of mind wherein you have no value for the earlier entertainment of money, name, fame, power, position, status, which had a tremendous value once upon a time. With the knowledge of higher values and growth, you have no value for this worldly offerings. You are having the inner be something beyond the world, something of sacrifice, wisdom, and focus on the Supreme God. Once you entertain the higher wisdom, you have no value for this changing temper. You are said to be in sannyasa. So sannyasi is not based, can't give up anything. You can only take up something higher, something nobler, something subtler, something diviner, something greater than the routine, mechanical, herd instinct of sheep following sheep today. Every human being is running after this acquisition and enjoyment of following this rat race, like a sheep running after money morning, noon, and night, accumulating, acquiring, and engaged in enjoying what you acquire. This is the sad state of human being. Is below the level of the human being. It's an animalist life. If you don't have any higher knowledge, higher human values, you are below subhuman species. All the time earning for yourself and your family, nothing beyond it. You can't see beyond. You can't accommodate beyond. You can't feel beyond. You can't think beyond. You are stuck in the narrow vision because of lack of application of your intellect. This is the tragedy of human being because of the lack of study and reflection of Vedanta scriptures. So once you gain the knowledge, you become wiser by that. Then you automatically drop these toys. What are the toys which make joys? Money, name, fame, power, position, status. You drop it because you are in greater dimension of larger vision, higher growth, greater purpose in life. Help the humanity as a whole. Work for the welfare of the Loka Kalyan, Loka Sangraha. You change your perception, emotion, and thoughts to the higher values, then this state of being is called sannyasa. Sannyasa is not giving up, it is taking up of higher values, highest order of life. It is the dignity and prestige of a human being to become a sannyasi. You have to gain by yourself. Nobody can give you. You have to achieve by yourself by gaining the knowledge. And then you are qualified to meditate on the Supreme Self by following this advice. The seeker, the advice given by the gurus, you meditate on the Supreme Self and you constantly, consistently, continuously, committedly pursue that japa, single thought connection with the Supreme God, that would be retrieved from the ocean of samsara. That alone plucks you out of this entanglement. Enmeshed. At this moment, you are suffering because of the entanglement of this routine, mechanical, monotonous, boring existence. Getting up, going to office or job or money or power and coming back, and routine, coming back, getting up is a sad state of mind. You are caught up. You will be free from these clutches of this world and sufferings of this world and gain the peace and bliss and happiness only through detachment from this samsara, through knowledge of reality, Vedanta. You are liberated from the clutches. Heat and cold affects you because you are caught up in the body. You serve and sacrifice using the body, become free. Body cannot affect you. Heat and cold cannot affect you. But because of selfishness, because of personal interest, because of focusing on yourself, you experience suffering and sorrow and lack of happiness in you. You engage yourself in service and sacrifice, your peace and bliss flow into you. This is what the liberation at the physical body, liberation in the mind. Mind is tossed by happiness and sorrow, joy and sorrow. You are buffeted, fluctuating. The moment you gain the wisdom, you be free from the mind and its fluctuations. You are free from sufferings of the world. That is the wisdom he is talking about. Similarly, intellect. You have brilliance and dullness, ignorance and knowledge, understanding and not understanding. You gain the consciousness. The understanding or non-understanding, you have nothing to do with the intellect, because you are in the realization of the self. You are liberated from the samsara, liberated from the birth and death cycle. So you break the chain of birth and death only by fixing your attention on the changeless entity, immortality, the supreme God within. And it is there within you, and it's the closest to you. It is within your reach, but you clean miss because of your preoccupation and attachment, involvement in the affairs of the world. You have to get out of this entanglement through knowledge and through understanding, through taking up higher values in life. Liberated from the cycle of birth and death, and you gain the fruit of liberation, attaining spiritual enlightenment. So, life after life, the individual jiva means the individual, and your goal is to become infinite, birthless, deathless, infinitude, from finite to infinite, from limited to unlimited, from bondage to liberation, from unreality to reality, from temporary to permanent, from sorrow to peace and bliss, eternal, permanent. This is the objective, this is a goal, this is the ultimate purpose human being alone can achieve. If you are having an intellect, you can take it up and pursue it. This is the acid test. Or else, the jiva is caught up in this endless cycle, birth and death. Adi Shankaracharya told, Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jatare shayanam, yaha samsare baudustare, krupaya pare, pahi murare. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jatare shayanam, यह संसारे बहुदोस्तारे कृपया पारे पाहि मुरारे. Repeated birth, repeated death, repeatedly lying in the mother's womb. Nobody is aware. They are complacent. It's like a pig's contentment. They are complacent, not being bothered, caught up in the routine chores of life. So, this is killer. In each lifetime, he is bound by attachment, desire, worry, and anxiety, stress and strain. He is left struggling against these relentless waves of challenges in the world. The Guru sees the disciples' predicament. So, all the great masters of the Upanishadic lore advising what a sad state of condition today. what is that human being belongs and where is the tragedy today. So they are trying to help us and understands and advising human being to find this fruit of liberation, the peace and bliss of self-realization. In conformity with the traditional conclusion of a scriptural textbook, the mantra ends the Upanishad with the repetition of last line. What is that? He attains the fruit of liberation. Who? Who gains the wisdom? He attains the fruit of wisdom. It is repeated 2 times so that the end of the Upanishads means the education is complete, convocation is complete, conferation is complete. This is the Kaivalya Upanishad's conclusion. But this conclusion, we commit ourselves from today. We have not ended the pursuit of the self until we merge with the self, with this idea, with this commitment, with this rejuvenation. We commit from today onwards to the pursuit of the self. With that indication, we chant the first mantra of this Kaivalya Upanishad, and then as a reminder, so we chant together the mantra 1. Athashvalayano bhagavantam parameshtinamupasmetyo vacha adhihi bhagavan brahma vidyam varishtam sada sadbhi sevyamanam nigodam yaya chirat sarva papam vyapohya paratparam purusham yati vidwan. Thank you very much. We will continue in the next class. Hari Om.